Well, right, guys, this one is going to be a long one, so you better get ready. It's going to be at least an hour, probably closer to 2, and we're talking about Ashes of Creation today. This right here, well, we're not talking about, we're watching a video about it, and I'll be yapping over the video as well. This is a video by Selwen, and the title is 150 plus million 10 years, how the most hyped MMO collapsed. I'm just gonna say I'm super sad about this, as somebody who's played Arcade, and Steven also played Arcade, and was trying to, like, when he talked about Ashes, it sounded like he liked Arcade and wanted Arcade, and a lot of Arcade, but except for the pay-to-win elements. So as somebody who would love to see a successor to Arcade, this is very sad to see. And but also the development of Ashes was so shady, man. But hey, let's see what he has to say. It is a 1 hour 21 minute video, so before I even start watching, I'm gonna subscribe and leave a like, because this video probably took a lot of time to make. Either way, grab a drink, grab some food, throw me on the second monitor, listen to the discussion here, and yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments as well as we are listening to the video, okay? Either way, let's go.
On December 5, 2016, the MMORPG community, perhaps the most fatigued yet fiercely desperate fanbase in all of gaming, was blindsided by a sudden announcement: Ashes of Creation. It promised a truly living world, an evolving ecosystem where every action had a consequence, a world to build, to conquer, and to discover. But the real selling point was the philosophy, a game that wasn't engineered by a faceless corporation for mass market profit, but one born entirely out of passion.
Really never experienced a community quite like what MMORPGs have to offer. It's a diverse community. There's a lot of people involved. I mean, thousands of players from across the world, and it was just such a passion of mine to be able to experience that involvement in a game like an MMORPG.
These devs get it.
Oh, no. We're gonna be highlighting comments like this now? Oh no, 9 years later. These devs get it. Gamers that enjoy MMOs without restrictions of a huge company. Excited for sure. And then 9 years later, oh, this is painful. Actually painful.
Gamers that enjoy MMOs without restrictions of a huge company.
Yeah.
Excited for sure. Let's make MMOs great again.
Yeah.
But behind the grand promises stood an architect with an interesting past. Stephen Sharif, the man who positioned himself as the savior.
The mastermind himself, the savior of the MMORPG genre, the legend behind Ashes of Creation, the likes we shall never see again.
Of the genre.
I'm personally funding the project to completion.
Held a web of secrets. What began as a community's final hope would unravel into a toxic multi-year saga of shifting promises, aggressive monetization, and ultimately a brutal corporate implosion. A disaster defined not by bad code, but by multiple lawsuits, hundreds of employees out the door, and a desperate, back-against-the-wall Steam release that exposed the truth. This is the story of Ashes of Creation and how the savior of the MMORPG genre became its
Yo, that's the same title I just said, let's go!
Most expensive tragedy.
I've been on the other side of that screen. I've seen companies come to Kickstarter and promise the world, and either under-deliver or just don't deliver at all.
Oh no. Oh no. Meanwhile, Ashes. Yeah.
But the reality is we're not those people.
Oh.
I brought together a team of industry veterans who've spent over 40 years combined working on MMORPGs and have created some pretty amazing titles. That's what we're going to do here with Ashes of Creation. We're going to create an amazing game, a game that you can be proud of.
Bro, that just feels like Logan Paul when he talks about Crypto Zoo and how that's an incredible game. Bro, what happened?
By the mid-2010s, what was once the frontier of digital-human interaction had evolved into a corporate graveyard. Beyond a few enduring giants, World of Warcraft, RuneScape, and Final Fantasy XIV, the MMORPG genre was effectively stagnant. The market had become an ecosystem of pure nostalgia exploitation, systematically flooded with soulless clones, predatory microtransactions, and crowdfunded vaporware that vanished into the night with millions in backer cash.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Walsh.
This profound fatigue.
No, not Chronicles of Valyria, bro. Come on, man. I'm so sad. What is the other game? There was one game that basically came out on Steam and now, where it hasn't even like fully came out, but it's like 13 years of development, and here we are. Wait, it's Camelot Unchained, right? And I thought about that due to the Camelot leak for Classic Plus. Oh no, which was also a Kickstarter project, bro. If I see a game on Kickstarter now, based on all the failed Kickstarter projects, especially in the MMORPG scene or MMO scene, I'm just gonna say, like, I'm just gonna approach this with the it's a scam mindset. I think they're all just scams. Until proven otherwise, I'm just gonna approach them as scams and just assume they're never launching in the first place. I would rather be positively surprised than have false hopes. And I also feel like many of them maybe prey on your false hopes, because like they know that in the MMO space, we are starving for something new, right? And if they don't even have to sell you a game. They just have to sell you a dream, and sell you the dream you've been dreaming, and selling you that they are turning that dream into a reality. Which they never have to do in the first place, because they just took your money and run.
Fatigue is exactly why millions of players pinned their final desperate hopes on Ashes of Creation, and stepping directly into that void was a man who claimed to be one of them, Steven Sharif. Someone who truly believed that at the core of a great MMO was the community.
In my experiences first starting to play MMOs when I was 7 years old, back in 1992, playing Neverwinter on AOL, that was $6 by the hour. It's all about, again, the community and the people that you play with. You know, it didn't become so much the game that I was playing, more so that the friends who I had made online, they were playing those games too. And I always found that as we moved from MMO to MMO, you know, we moved with our group, so to speak.
And through the years, Steven logged thousands of hours across the titans of the industry. But it was a game called Arcade that truly altered his trajectory.
In less than an hour, members from White Order will be joining kittens from across.
Dude, I miss Arcade so much. This was such a good game. Very mismanaged, but very good game when it came out. Holy. I sunk my life into this game. I basically quit my job to play this game, bought a second PC to play this game. I'm just like, bro, this game consumed me for a while.
Across the world.
I was playing a game called Arcade, and I loved Arcade. I thought Arcade was awesome. But I got super jaded in Arcade because a lot of the guild that I had at the time, a lot of people quit because the monetization practices of the game were super kind of predatory with the pay-to-win model, with the labor that they had to do.
Arcade was supposed to be yet another savior. To some, a masterclass in sandpark design, offering player-driven economies, high-seas piracy, and total territorial freedom, until its publisher strangled it with aggressive pay-to-win monetization. The community felt betrayed. Sharif felt motivated. You see, Steven possessed something the average disgruntled gamer did not: an immense, independent fortune. In 2015, he founded Intrepid Studios, and within 9 months, Sharif had assembled a core team of 13 industry veterans, plucked from the ranks of Sony Online, Epic Games, Triarch, and more.
Over the past several years, having played MMORPGs, I was kind of not impressed with what has been coming out of the genre. A lot of pay-to-win, cash grab style games, and I just felt that there could be something better. And, you know, if you want to get things done right, sometimes you just have to do them yourself.
By late 2016, they had a functional prototype, a game that promised a living world where player choices dynamically altered the landscapes. But the most impressive aspect of Ashes of Creation was how it was being funded. Our project is privately funded, largely from yours truly. We want to have freedom from corporate overlords, said Steven Sharif. He estimated the core build would cost $30 million. He claimed he was ready to bankroll it. He presented himself as the ultimate anomaly in modern gaming, a wealthy, uncompromised purist using his own capital to shield his developers and gamers from corporate greed. He was the passionate hero the dying genre had been praying for. People were undoubtedly excited, and in 6 months, on May 1st, 2017.
Yeah, we can all see how that went now, huh? Man. RIP. This game could have been great, and now it's just like... I think he's still trying to fight the court case and maybe pull it back, but it's like, even if he somehow manages to do that, it's just never gonna come back from this. I cannot see a world where Ashes actually comes out and takes over the MMORPG space. It's just, it's finished, right? It has to be. There's just no way.
That hope coalesced into a single defining moment. Intrepid Studios launched their Kickstarter campaign.
The reason we're here on Kickstarter is because we want to expand the scope of our project. We want to make it bigger and better. We also want to give an opportunity to you to participate in that community development, to be in on our discussions of design. We feel that Kickstarter and crowdsourcing is a pretty good avenue towards that development.
Ashes promised to bring the massive back to massively multiplayer, the rebirth of the MMORPG, and the goal, a modest $750,000, but hoping for much more, with top-tier backer tiers scaling up to $10,000, with the low price of $400.
5 people even backed it at the $10,000 one, as you can see here. Limited quantity, 15 left out of 20. 5 people spent $10,000 on backing Ashes, and 250 people spent $400 on this. That's crazy.
To gain access to the very first Ashes alpha build. Within 60 minutes, $300,000 flooded the gates. In less than 12 hours, the core goal was shattered. Within 2 weeks, that number crossed $2 million with more than 11,000 backers. One of the fastest funded projects of all time.
That's a lot.
The frenzy was driven partially by 4 pillars meant to revolutionize the genre. At its center was its most unique and fascinating feature, the node system, a dynamic world mechanic where player settlements evolved from small camps into massive metropolises based on localized player activity.
There are tons of nodes throughout the world, and each of them has a zone of influence. This zone of influence captures all the activity of the different players doing different things. It could be crafting, it could be fighting, it could be gathering. Anything that might give you experience is something that the node's going to be paying attention to. And as you level up your character, the node levels up with you. And as it levels, more and more civilization gets attracted to that area.
The PvP, massive unrestricted guild wars, and server-wide castle sieges.
Our castle system, our sieges against nodes, the caravan system, battlegrounds that exist, guild wars. We want there to be a meaning to this conflict. We want players to actually have some skin in the game when it comes to participating in PvP. If you own a home in a node and you don't want to see that home destroyed, you need to defend that city.
The player-driven economy that would drive the world and force player interaction.
The global auction house isn't something that you're going to find in our game at the early stages, or maybe ever. Rather, you're going to have to go to a town. You're going to have to buy, sell, or gather whatever you want. What this creates is a competitive advantage, much like we have in the real world. Some towns, some areas are going to be better at certain things, some are going to be worse at some things. But the important part is that you get to play a role in who's better at what and who's worse at what.
And lastly, the narrative. a shifting story landscape shaped entirely by the choices of the server's populace.
Each server will tell a different story, and this story is going to be told by the players. You're going to experience things differently when it comes to what bosses you've encountered because of how the world develops and how you have developed it.
It was an intoxicating, ambitious vision, everything most MMO.
So what stories do these servers tell now, if they're all telling a different story? Color me intrigued.
Players craved for a new yet old-school generation of MMOs. What other game you could have a massive, living, malleable world with huge PvP and PvE events, sailing the seas on your ship, on your boat, housing, evolving towns, and so much more. And while AOC could easily slip into vaporware or even scope creep, the Ashes team made it sound like this time would be different.
Oh yeah. This time it'll be different,
Sharif
trust.
was especially adamant about two things: how he would use his own personal funds and what exactly the crowdfunding money would go towards outside the stretch goals. I intend to use those funds to bring additional team members who can focus on building the game. I am primarily self-funding the project, but if necessary, I have made some very good friends in my previous business endeavors who are dying to invest. An interesting statement, which brings us to Steven Sharif's past and how exactly he came to acquire that said fortune.
Oh,
Hey everybody, I was challenged by
is he gonna talk about the MLM thing now? Which is crazy, by the way, the MLM involvement, and apparently there's more than just him.
TJ over at Zango Corporate, a good friend, to do the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge.
24 hours after launch, a Reddit thread went up titled "Ashes of Creation could be a pyramid scheme." The poster claimed the entire project might be a scam, how 13 developers wouldn't be enough to tackle a project of this scale. Many of them were inexperienced, and how Intrepid was bypassing traditional marketing budgets through a highly aggressive and unconventional referral system. A referral program many thought resembled a pyramid scheme.
And a referral program that didn't even pay the creators until after launch. So like, I've tuned into multiple Twitch streams from people who were a part of this program, and they never made any money. Because they were told, and when you sign up as well, you were told this, that you would start getting payouts when the game launched. And the game just never launched, so... Crazy level of pyramid scheme, if correct.
You see, Ashes of Creation was taking hype and word of mouth to the next level. Much like affiliate codes, such as Amazon, players could sign up to share a unique code. If a referred user registered and spent money on the game's future monthly subscription, yes, there would be a subscription, premium cosmetic shop, or any other purchases, the original referee received a 15% kickback. Crucially, this wasn't just in-game credits, Intrepid bucks, towards the cash shop or the subscription, potentially playing the game for free. It could be withdrawn as cold, hard cash. That is, only when the game officially launched.
Yeah.
For example, if you referred 3 players who spent $100 each, you then earned $45 referral credit. These players could then refer to others, and on it went.
Without the players, the MMO doesn't exist.
Exactly.
And for the players taking on that responsibility and bringing the community with them to a game, they should be compensated in some way, shape, or form, or rewarded for that. And I think that our referral system really goes to rewarding our players for helping us to organically grow this game.
It was a brilliant strategy to bring attention to the game, but not exactly a pyramid scheme, though inspired by one. To put it clearly, a pyramid scheme is a fraudulent business model where participants...
So basically the way this would not be a pyramid scheme is that the top guy here, he only gets money for referring the 2 people under him. And a pyramid scheme would be where you would also get money for the referrals from your referees, right? So you would just make more and more and more and more money the higher up in this pyramid you are. Because referrals are in many other games out there, and it's not like a pyramid scheme. But, yeah.
Participants make money primarily by recruiting new members who pay to join. Each new recruit's entry fee or mandatory purchases flows upward to those already in the scheme. There's little or no genuine product being sold to regular customers outside the scheme, and because it depends on constant recruitment, it's mathematically unsustainable. It will always run out of new people, leaving those at the bottom with losses. In the case of the referral program, it was far simpler and more direct. If person A referred person B, only person A received the benefit from that specific referral. There was no multi-level chain. Person A didn't earn anything from people that person B later referred to person C. It was a single-level system, not a pyramid. Of course, though, this program became prominent among content creators, YouTubers.
Just want to make you aware of my referral link for this game in the description below. If you sign up to the game through that link, it helps support my channel.
In fact, the original referral program specifically targeted YouTubers, advertising how you could make tens of thousands of dollars through this system if you could convert your subscribers. The main problem was, if it wasn't already shitty enough, with a Kickstarter, this program wasn't just about purchases for the game, it included Kickstarter pledges as well. Meaning if you referred someone and that person pledged hundreds of dollars on a backer tier, you would earn 15% of that pledge. A brilliant way to further fuel pledges, resulting in record-breaking funding, but also something that did go against Kickstarter rules, as profit sharing is strictly prohibited. Kickstarter's compliance team ultimately took no punitive action. Intrepid quietly amended the program at their request, decoupling the cash incentives from the crowdfunding pledges, along with the aggressive push towards content creators. And the program solely worked against purchases made for the game itself. But for those who dug deeper into Steven Sharif's history, the referral program wasn't an innovation. It was a signature style, and for that, we need to talk about MLMs, multi-level marketing.
Why Herbalife? Because you get to be your own boss, earn extra money,
work from home, raise your own children.
you can name your own hours, make
Bro, I hate these commercials, man. Oh, there were so many bad commercials back in the day. And as somebody... crazy story, by the way. I used to work at a gym, right? And we were like a friend group, or we became a friend group, I guess, the people who worked there, and a lot of the people who lived as well. And we would go to uni, and there would be people selling Herbalife products at uni. And some of them would try to sneak into the gym and sell Herbalife products at the gym as well. Which I guess they wouldn't have to sneak in. I'm not sure if you are, like, not allowed to sell stuff. Like, it's Herbalife, but, like... Man, not this. Just in case my face camera is covering it here, which I think it is. This is a Herbalife ad. Let me just, like, hide for a moment here. It's a Herbalife ad. I hate Herbalife. Wait, okay, let me hide the promo. The promo is the main thing hiding it here. Herbalife recruitment video. Oh, it's so bad as well. It's so bad, and misleading marketing. And it's like they sell you basically nothing, and it's just to make money. And this was the biggest pyramid scheme. I wouldn't even be surprised if Herbalife is still around, man. I still feel like people talk about it all the time. I haven't heard about Herbalife though since like 2020, but maybe I'm out of the loop.
Part-time or full-time money,
paying the bills,
Share this
full-time money
that you care about, that you love, that you adore, that you admire. 20 people, 30 people,
come on, what are you waiting for?
100 people, share with everybody. They want what we have. We got it.
Steven Sharif didn't make his fortune in software engineering and game development. He was actually an entrepreneurial genius since he was 15 years old.
I was a little bit of a go-getter at a young age.
Okay.
Like, 15, 16, I started my first company. I was doing marketing, doing like radio co-ops and stuff.
In these talk radio stations, he attempted to sell nutritional drinks, of which he was very successful, and by age 18, Sharif was an elite distributor for Zango, a multi-level marketing corporation that generated billions selling a botanical beverage known as mangosteen juice. Now, Zango was a juggernaut of controversy. In 2006, the FDA issued a stern reprimand to the company for marketing the juice with illegal, unverified health claims, ranging from anti-inflammatory properties to cancer treatment. It was, by almost all medical definitions, high-priced snake oil. But the product didn't matter as much as the structure did.
Simple, generous, rewarding, and global. Whether you're 18 or 118, you're welcomed here. This frisky bunch represents a movement we call MB30, which stands for Millionaire by 30.
Unlike in a pyramid scheme, multi-level marketing (MLM), the majority of the revenue should come from actual product sales to outside customers.
Let's say you signed up 3 friends. Okay. So then you and I would help those 3 friends sign up their 3 friends and get their $700. Okay. Now there's 9 people there, right? Then we help those 9 people sign up their 3 friends and they get a $700. So everyone kind of gets their money back.
Zango, however, operated in the gray area many critics called pyramid-like. Heavy emphasis on building a massive downline, with distributors pressured to buy products themselves to qualify for commissions.
It's not an illegal pyramid scheme, it's a direct selling network marketing company.
Is it shaped like a pyramid, the business structure?
It is shaped like a pyramid, yes.
But you're saying it's not an illegal pyramid.
Nice. Is it shaped like a pyramid? Yeah, dude. So it's shaped like a pyramid. It sounds like a pyramid. It looks like a pyramid. It sounds like a pyramid. But it trust me, it's not a pyramid. Trust me, bro.
It's not an illegal pyramid scheme.
Sharif and his mother, Sharon Sharif, operated at the absolute apex of this pyramid. Their marketing operation was a runaway success, netting a staggering $350,000 a month. Stephen was so successful at...
Say what? Wait, how much you say? 350,000 a month, you say? Let me just Google how to sign up for this real quick. I might need you guys to click on a link real soon. That's crazy.
That at 24 years old, he moved over to real estate, and by age 28, Sharif was independently wealthy, retired, and looking for a legacy. This past isn't exactly a secret. Stephen himself was quite open about it, and while the referral program wasn't exactly like an MLM either, you can see where the inspiration came from. Ultimately, it did open a question: if there was a financial benefit to content creators to positively share and validate the game, at what point does their critical objectivity become compromised? Not only that, sitting at the apex of this entire machine was Stephen and Intrepid Studios. While sure, it was technically free marketing, it was also a system where those with more power and reach were benefiting from those further down the line. But it didn't end there, because the deeper you go, you'll find that Stephen brought that exact MLM circle of trust to Intrepid Studios. His husband, John Moore, who also carried deep operational ties to the Zango empire, was installed as Chief Financial Officer, CFO, and along with him was a third unannounced member in the foundation, a name completely hidden from the public during the Kickstarter hype, whose true involvement would only be dragged into the light during the legal warfare of 2026. Tom Alkazine. Alkazine was a family friend, a mentor, and a legendary figure in the multi-level marketing underworld. He had quietly injected $2 million into Intrepid's early coffers. He was also...
And they just really tried to hide that until recently? Bro, I have not been doing my research, holy.
A toxic asset.
I'm going to explain how the Vima business opportunity could make a positive change in your life. In fact, how Vima could make your dreams come true. It's worked for our family and it can work for yours. So let me show you how it works.
Just 1 year prior to the Ashes Kickstarter, the Federal Trade Commission had permanently dismantled Alkazine's previous venture, Vima Nutrition, classifying it as a massive, illegal pyramid scheme. Alkazine and his wife settled with the federal government for $1.2 million and were slapped with a lifetime ban from the MLM industry. Yet another MLM connection would draw further scrutiny into the project, and so in 2017, none of this information was made.
Isn't MLM already illegal? Like, how do you get banned from doing illegal stuff? Shouldn't that, like, by default be banned? Or is it actually not illegal and I'm just stupid?
Public. Even so, for internet conspiracy theorists, the evidence presented was enough. This could be a scam. For most, however, despite the shadows in the ledger, the community chose to believe. After all, at the time, Stephen reiterated again and again, the project is being funded by myself currently. The alternative to not believing was too depressing to face. The genre was starving, and Sharif's passion in interviews felt undeniable.
I'm planning on making massive games, putting massive back in MMOs, honestly. You know, we want to make it all about the player having agency over the direction of the narrative in the game and just bringing this massive raid idea back to open worlds and non-faction based decision-making processes. And we know the pitfalls. We know how to navigate these dangerous waters. What makes MMORPGs so risky for other studios to endeavor on these kind of innovative ideas, you know? We're here to do that, and we have the people that can get it done.
He was a millionaire gamer, using his own wealth to fight the corporate machine. Why care where the money came from if it was being used to build the promised land? When the curtain fell on the Kickstarter campaign in June 2017, the number stood at $3.27 million, with nearly 20,000 backers. It was one of the highest funded MMO campaigns in history. Every stretch goal was met. Hype was a commodity, and Intrepid capitalized it immediately. They transitioned crowdfunding directly to their own website, selling exclusive backer packages as high as $5,000.
We'll be running this summer crowdfunding on our website until July 21st, and we're treating it as an extension of our Kickstarter campaign. This means that anyone who participated in the Kickstarter campaign will continue to accrue backer rewards from the summer crowdfunding campaign.
The studio's official timeline was definitive: a beta release by December 2018, a massive next-generation virtual world featuring dozens of interconnected systems built completely from scratch in Unreal Engine 4. It was an impossible promise, a deadline engineered by marketing minds, completely disconnected from the brutal realities of MMO development. The money, however,
Am I the only one who... So I played Ashes when it came out in early access, as they called it on Steam, right? Am I the only one who was super let down about how the game felt? I think the combat and everything was fine. And I have to put emphasis on fine. It wasn't insane, it wasn't amazing, it was fine. But for a game that had been in development for so long, I was expecting slightly more. I really was. Even as somebody who understands that MMORPGs are a massive undertaking, and it takes a bunch of time to make, with so much money, so much boasting on social media, and so many years as well to develop things, I was just expecting them to be way, way, way further along. Because when I played that early access launch, which I don't even feel like it was early access, they even called it alpha. So like, they early accessed it in alpha. Stupid mistake, if you ask me. But then again, nobody asked me. But yeah. I really not happy with how far, or lack thereof, they had come in development of the game.
Was secured, the crowd was waiting, but as the calendar ticked towards 2018, the dream was about to collide with a decade of development hell.
When I created the studios and began this project, what was paramount to me was creating a game that gamers could be proud of. getting rid of the pay-to-win mechanics, the predatory practices of monetization that have gone to ruin games we have loved in the past. We need your help in building this MMORPG, and we cannot do it without you.
By late 2017, Intrepid Studios entered Alpha Zero. It was a highly restrictive testbed, accessible only to employees, close family, friends, and curated invites. We'll get to that later. But unlike the tightly guarded vaults of traditional publishers, Steven Sharif chose to pull back the curtain completely. Instead of hiding the cracks, he streamed them.
All right, guys. Welcome to our regularly scheduled monthly Q&A session, our live stream.
Yeah.
We got a special treat for you guys today. We are going to be doing a live playthrough of our pre-alpha build.
Sharif broadcasted raw, unpolished, and frequently broken gameplay directly to YouTube and Twitch. In an industry where crowdfunded projects routinely vanish behind NDAs and heavily curated vertical slices, this radical transparency felt revolutionary. Sharif was playing his own broken game, answering questions and building an unprecedented level of parasocial trust. If the game looked rough, it was simply proof of honest work. And even more exciting was the premise of an Alpha 1 phase, the version that would be available to backers of highest tiers, starting at $400, but not only to Kickstarter and summer crowdfunding.
It's crazy to me how they were speaking so much about removing the pay-to-win element and speaking about the monetization of MMORPGs and video games, and they sold alphas for $400. And they were putting a bunch of cosmetics into these packages as well, and were like, oh, you will have these at launch. Okay, so now what? Now what? There is no launch, there will be no launch. Very likely. Possibly. What did these people pay $400 for? I'm just... Bro.
Backers, despite a clear warning that rewards wouldn't be available past the June summer crowdfunding, packages kept being sold on their website to further fuel development. To secure a guaranteed slot in the upcoming Alpha 1 phase, players willingly laid down $500 for the Intrepid pre-order package. This would continue to prove...
I was very close to paying for one of these packages myself. I don't know which one it was. I think it was the 251. Because I was so sold on this game myself. I ended up not paying for any of them. But I was so close, man. I thought to myself, you know what, $200. It's probably the future of MMORPGs. Might as well support them. I've never been more happy about not buying something in my life, I think.
To be part of an extremely predatory cosmetic and backer system. More on that later. And at PAX East in April 2018, Sharif took to the stage to announce.
We're happy to announce that first phase of Alpha 1 will be launched early in Q4, this fourth quarter of 2018.
And by July, he confidently proclaimed that Intrepid's ranks had swelled past 100 developers. The scope was staggering, the team kept growing, the money was flowing. But then came the pivot.
Oh no.
In August 2018, backers eagerly awaited their first taste of the revolutionary high-fantasy MMORPG. This testing phase wasn't the full features, but a testing ground for the game's action combat. However, players were handed something else entirely. Ashes of Creation. Apocalypse. It was not an MMORPG, it was a standalone battle royale. Effectively, instead of just delaying the testing phase, they decided to turn it into something usable.
So, we are announcing that Alpha 1 Phase 1, the Battle Royale, the Castle Siege mode, as well as the Horde mode, will be a side arena mode referred to as Ashes of Creation Apocalypse.
To the community, it smelled entirely of corporate trend chasing, a distraction nobody asked for. In September 2019, Apocalypse launched.
I'm gonna tell you this much. I didn't even know this was a thing until the early access came out, and I was like, I just checked out. I think it was on Steam as well, and I just typed it in, and I was like, what is this? and it was a new game or a separate download, separate thing. I didn't even know this existed, man, for the longest time.
Launched into Steam Early Access, and it plummeted into instant obscurity, scraping together an embarrassing peak of just 832 concurrent players.
Insane.
The community was indifferent, but the corporate execution was alarming. Despite being a bare-bones testing tool for a game that did not exist yet, Apocalypse was aggressively monetized. It featured a fully functional digital storefront, premium cosmetics that would be usable in the future actual MMO, and a seasonal battle pass. Yet another red flag to the ever-growing pile. People were undoubtedly angry, claiming Steven was out of touch. The savior of the MMO genre was spending backer capital to build a failed clone of Fortnite, starting to think Star Citizen will launch before the MMO. So glad we got a full Battle Royale game in place of the MMORPG you guys sold us. And the actual Alpha one was nowhere in sight. But there was one thing we could be for sure though: financial independence. In March 7, 2019, on a Discord Q&A, Steven reiterated again, usually outside funds are raised through venture capitalists because they are risk-oriented. However, it isn't something I have done.
Okay.
It was a powerful statement. He was reminding the audience that he answered to no one but them. It was.
So, was that a straight up lie, or is it just like very careful wording of what investments actually happened? Because we have now learned that there was a board of investors. So yeah, he accepted money from somewhere, and those people got shares and a seat at the board because of it.
Also a carefully constructed distortion. While Sharif hadn't approached traditional investors or venture capitalists, he was actively trading studio equity for multi-million-dollar cash injections from his old multi-level marketing inner circle. The shadow boards were already forming, the debt was already mounting. But in 2019, the public knew none of this. They only knew that Alpha 1 was late, the Battle Royale was an absolute failure, and the dream was slipping away. And then, just as the project neared total narrative collapse, Intrepid pulled off the most spectacular public relations redirection in modern gaming history, and the weapon of choice: content creators. We all want to believe in the perfect game. We want to believe that someone, somewhere, is building the next great MMO. Nothing wrong with that. But in 2020, Ashes of Creation transformed that hope into a highly effective marketing engine. Content creators became the frontline vanguard for Intrepid Studios. Prominent MMO figures like the Lazy Peon became massive megaphones for the project, tracking development updates, personally investing thousands of dollars of their own money, and harvesting millions of views in the process. The other, many might say, was Narc, comedic commentary, sharing updates.
Dude, bring back Narc, man. Bring back Narc. He hasn't made like a Ashes video after everything, right? He needs to make a video on Ashes of Creation. And just, yeah. We need a Narc response video to what's been happening. That guy would have an absolute feast right now. I loved these Ashes videos from Narc, man. I really am. I kind of want to see if he's back now, but I doubt that he is. And I'm guessing this is just a Wayback Machine to get a screenshot of the channel. That's probably why the two videos on the right side don't have a thumbnail right now.
It's providing feedback and criticism. Despite the absolute absence of a playable Alpha 1, the game was finally beginning to resemble a legitimate product. The comment sections of Intrepid's official channels were no longer just populated by hopeful players, they were validated by checkmarks who staked their digital reputations on Sharif's vision. Easily the most promising and well-managed upcoming MMORPG. Keep up the great work. The symbiosis was flawless, the reach was absolute, and Steven Sharif was about to weaponize it.
Okay, man.
How's my sound quality, by the way? I'm on my phone driving to Vegas, and I'm like in the middle of the day.
Dude, Sharif was or is such a good like speech person or spokesman or whatever, because during all of this he just kept giving, at least to a lot of people, the right answers at the right time, and he did a lot of really good marketing for the game itself. Whether he was on Asmongold's channel, I think he talked to S-Fand as well, and just a bunch of other big streamers, big YouTubers. He did a lot. He played a lot of like his cards correctly in order to win the public perception. He really did, and the way they streamed as well, to have like those fireside chats to talk about things, was fantastic, I think, for the morale of development and the morale of the community. So yeah, very smart person. Maybe less so with the whole lawsuit and everything, but I mean, he has to have done something right to have all of those millions and to be in the position he is. And just the way he speaks as well. I think he's pretty good at speaking, and yeah, good at strategizing. He knows what he's doing, and he also knows how to sell things, because for Ashes as well, he never really had to sell you the game. He sold you a dream and a vision of a game, and he got people to pay hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars to be a part of that dream. And they never got the game, and I'm guessing when it comes to chargebacks, you can probably charge back, but I'm guessing probably 10% or even less have charged back anything. And with the whole court case as well and frozen funds, maybe you can't even charge back. I don't even know anymore, but maybe you're able to charge back the early access on Steam, but people who supported on Kickstarter back in like, what, 2018? It's kind of hard to charge back something like that 8 years later. I don't know.
The approach was masterfully casual. Sharif joined live on Twitch from his car, presenting himself as just an ordinary, passionate gamer. He was the antithesis of the stiff corporate executive.
We went to Kickstarter, not really as a means for funding, you know, I'm personally funding the entire project, but actually to, you know, add some additional features, but also mainly to get a litmus test on what the community thinks about many of our designs.
When he chatted with Asmongold, the undisputed gravity well of the MMO streaming space at the time, he wasn't only talking to around 50,000 live viewers and millions more in VODs, he was validating an entire subculture, a gamer making a game for gamers, speaking directly to the community's premier voice.
So like I know in RuneScape, for example, you can effectively buy gold with like bonds, and in WoW you can buy gold with the WoW token, and there are other things in the game that are effectively like kind of pay to win features. Are you guys going to have anything like that? Absolutely not.
And above all, he clearly understood and communicated how MMOs are supposed to work.
You know, there's been this kind of paradigm shift towards a mentality of everybody's a winner, and there's no longer a risk versus reward type of design philosophy. And
yes, we've heard of that.
All the right boxes were checked. The hype cycle then continued. Sharif equally joined live with Shroud and Summit, Tim the Tatman.
Yeah, dude, this is what I've been saying. Like a bunch of streamers, he just he made a public appearance, and he spoke, and it sounded like just a gamer speaking. No massive pre-written questions. Like if you watch a bunch of developer interviews or regular developers just popping by streams, it's very like more often than not planned. And the creators have been sent a list of questions they can ask, and just like, yeah, it's all pre-planned basically. This felt more raw every single time.
Culminating in dedicated Ask Me Anything streams.
That's good.
You know, like I said, I'm personally funding the project to completion, that's not the issue.
By the time the marketing blitz concluded, the commercial failure of Apocalypse was completely erased from the public memory. The Kickstarter controversies were reduced to a distant footnote. Intrepid's YouTube channel was generating unprecedented metrics. The terrifying warning signs of scope creep were completely ignored. And on July 14, 2021, the machine received its ultimate fuel.
At long last, years after years they have been developing this game. And after a year of closely following its development, we finally arrive at the day that we have the opportunity to play the game for the first time ourselves.
The Alpha 1 weekend test was here, and it launched with 0 NDA agreements. For the first time, any backer who had purchased a top-tier package, or of course, content creators, could stream and show the game completely unedited, testing combat, basic PvP systems, and other core features. All hail the savior of MMOs.
Oh no. And here we are. The savior of what exactly? The savior of money, or?
But Salvation carried a massive premium. For the players who missed the Kickstarter or the following shop packages, they were now able to purchase...
Yeah, look at this, by the way. Adventurer pre-order package, $500. Voyager pre-order package, $250. Wayfarer pre-order pack, $75. And as you can see here, you have the A and the B keys, that is alpha key and beta key, right? So Wayfarer pre-order pack, you basically skipped alpha, but you joined beta. But we so far we haven't made it to beta. It's all been alpha so far. So you would have to have paid 500 or 250 or whatever the Steam price ended up being to be a part of the early access. This is so stupid. And also, by the way, what if you bought the Wayfarer pre-order pack for $75? I believe the Steam price was like, what, $40? How are you going to sell alpha keys in early access for half the price of beta? Make it make sense. Well, bro. I also feel like this is very predatory marketing or predatory cash shop selling things. You get things in the game may never come out, but you've paid for it anyway. Tough luck. Just selling cosmetics in the game before the game even comes out is crazy to me. That is stupid. That's crazy.
New access packages, but that's not the worst part. For a studio that had built its entire identity on rejecting the predatory, greed-driven mechanics of corporate publishers, Intrepid's monetization model was remarkably cutthroat. From 2017 straight through 2024, the studio operated a relentless, monthly rotating storefront. They didn't just sell backer packages, they manufactured a highly weaponized fear of missing out, FOMO. Players were induced to purchase these packages bundled with limited-time cosmetics for an unreleased game. In many instances, these items didn't even exist as digital assets. They were sold as flat pieces of concept art with no commercial release date in sight. Worse still, prior to the launch of Alpha 1, buying higher tier pledge packages double functioned as a financial lottery. Purchasing the pack merely granted a raffle ticket for a chance, 10 entries to be exact, for the $500 package to be invited to the earlier Alpha 0 tests.
What did you just say? Ordering this pack also adds your name 10 times to our drawings for the Alpha 0 internal testing phases leading into Alpha 1. Oh, okay. So so you buy this, you will get access to Alpha 1, Alpha 2, Beta 1, and Beta 2. But you also had a chance to get into Alpha 0. So internal test, okay. That makes more sense. I was like, no way you simply had a chance to get into Alpha. It's Alpha 0, internal testing. Alright, kinda cool, but also lottery. So now we're getting into the casino element as well. You're gambling. You're gambling to get into Alpha 0. Lovely.
Wealthy users, also known as whales, routinely purchased multiple identical packages simply to increase their mathematical odds of selection. While modern online games inherently require sustainable monetization to survive, the absolute scale of the studio's pre-launch storefront bordered on the absurd. Before the core MMORPG had even delivered, a stable build, the rotating marketplace had aggressively cycled through more than 300 limited edition exclusive cosmetics, according to
Oh, that is disgusting. 300 exclusive cosmetics you only get by paying for them. And the game is in Alpha 1. Oh. I need to vomit. Oh.
to the community, capturing the full catalog required a staggering total investment of over $9,000. When comparing to released MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft, the discrepancy was staggering. This did not look like the behavior of an independently wealthy purist funding a passion project out of his own pocket. It looked like an operation desperate for immediate liquidity. Yet, blinded by the dream, the community shielded the studio from any criticism. Rabid defense forces routinely silenced anyone pointing out the systemic hypocrisy of the store.
But that was pretty much it for my time playing the Ashes of Creation Alpha 1 weekend. Overall, I had a great time playing the game and...
So, am I the only one that feels like it looked better in Alpha 1 than it did in Early Access? Am I crazy right now? How do you continue developing a game for 3 years and it gets downgraded? What happened?
By video game Alpha 1 standards, it's very impressive.
Alpha 1 then was generally received positively for such an early stage. Moreover, Intrepid soon announced a massive technological migration. They were abandoning their foundation to transfer Ashes of Creation to Unreal Engine 5. The visual upgrades were undeniable. The community celebrated the move as proof of Intrepid's commitment to cutting-edge technology. Everything looked great.
So for us, from a financial wherewithal and capability standpoint, we are capable of progressing the development of the project until completion, depending on how long that is going to take, obviously, but also from a sheer reward factor, you know, it's something we're really looking forward to see the launch of this game, because I do truly believe, based on the metrics that we're looking at, that this will be one of the largest and most successful MMOs.
But by
yeah.
2023 and 2024, yes, 3 years later, the highly anticipated Alpha 2 phase was caught in a cycle of perpetual delays, and their FOMO tactics struck again. The fame's rotating packages were suddenly removed towards the end of 2023, sending the community scrambling to buy $250 packs to gain access to Alpha 2. But there was someone who called it out early.
What's he gonna do next? What's he gonna do? Is he gonna stop selling Alpha 2 keys and then reintroduce Alpha 2 keys again 2 months before the Alpha 2? Is that what he's gonna do next? Holy shit, just like he did with Alpha 1. Do you guys remember that?
And sure enough, in August 2024, as Intrepid dropped its latest roadmap, the studio announced they were now selling standalone Alpha 2 testing keys for $100 to $120. Crucially, these keys were stripped of all traditional bundle value. They offered nothing but the right to test a fragmented, unfinished piece of software.
It is extremely important to remember, you are not purchasing access to a game. You are not purchasing access to an early access. You are purchasing access to testing Alpha 2.
After 7 years of waiting, players were still being treated as paying labor for a product with no end in sight. Intrepid scrambled to deploy damage control. Due to, quote, glorious feedback, they stuffed subscription time and premium currency back into the keys to pacify the masses. But the damage was done. Adding to this, early backers who had laid down hundreds of dollars under the explicit promise of exclusivity.
I kind of wish that nobody ever paid for these alpha keys or any of these cosmetics, Just because I honestly feel like people paying for this shit just validated them to add more stuff and never release the game to begin with. Because, like, why would you release a game that... were they going with the Guild Wars model, so like free-to-play, and then a subscription model? Or was it both buy-to-play and subscription? Either way, like, why would you launch that game when you can sell a $100 alpha key? Like, I'll sell a $100 alpha key, and sell a dream, and sell cosmetics for that dream. That seems like the most, like, monetizable thing ever. $100 key instead of selling subs. And you can also sell cosmetics in this game as well. They found a form of monetization. It worked, they made money, and why launch the game, right?
Realized that their premium access was being diluted for cheap cash injections. People like me feel scammed by their FOMO tactics. I definitely would go back in time and not buy it if I knew they would go back on their promises and just buy the cheaper access. This will hunting behavior, hoping to squeeze any possible dime out of desperate fans, utilizing FOMO, was all but evaporating any goodwill. But soon enough, the paper trail would caught up to them. On October 24, 2024, a stealthy thread materialized on Reddit. Ashes of Creation is a scam. A user digging through public state records discovered that Intrepid...
Wait, when was that posted? Let me go back a little bit here.
Soon enough, the paper trail would caught up to them. On October 24, 2024, a stealthy thread materialized on Reddit. Ashes of Creation.
Yo, wasn't this like way before everything happened as well? October 2024? I feel like the whole Ashes thing... Did it happen earlier this year or last year? Now my whole timeline is kind of messed up.
Is a scam. A user digging through public state records discovered that Intrepid Studios had been officially suspended by the California Franchise Tax Board, meaning their business license was suspended for failure to pay taxes. Not only that, the following information revealed the reality that flatly contradicted years of Sharif's public messaging. To everyone's surprise, it had finally come to the public that the studio had quietly accumulated layers of outstanding debt, effectively external financing despite Steven claims of self-funding. This was from someone named Jason Karaminis of the Yaya Legacy Fund in 2020.
Oh yeah, the whole Yaya saga. The Yaya Holdings and Yaya Legacy Trust and everything. Man.
Followed by someone else named Robert Dawson in 2024. And
these are names that we have now gotten a little bit more familiar with after everything that happened, right?
Lawsuit by Jason over a mandate to inspect the company's financial books and records. However, it had since been dismissed. While they were able to reactivate their status, the lawsuit by Jason and the suspension by the tax authorities, which was followed by another near suspension in 2023 for not submitting annual accounts, made the user suspect all of this, the deception, Ashes of Creation, to be a scam. The loyal fanbase dismissed the thread as standard hater fiction. They chose to believe the dream. They chose to believe Steven Sharif. But inside the development pipeline...
Wait. No. We go back. I want to read. We constantly provide disclaimers that being in active development may result in missed timelines, delays, and complete reworks. This is the development path and strategy we have chosen to adopt because we believe it will create the best product, and believe it is the healthiest way to develop larger games like Ashes. Maybe this will be wrong, time will tell. It is factually inaccurate to say that we are unable to sell cosmetics. Yeah, I mean, you are selling it, so... Players who own packs can currently upgrade and make purchases, and have been able to do so for the last several years. The tax lien issue was dealt with a couple of years ago, and were minor clerical mistakes. The company pays hundreds of thousands in employment taxes every week, and we are actively hiring and hired record numbers over the past 18 months. Funding for the game is not in question, despite what Reddit may say. Okay. Yeah, sure.
But inside the development pipeline, the reality of a 10-year development cycle was breeding immense friction. By late 2024, following a highly limited Alpha 2 weekend test, the slow rate of development could no longer be masked by fancy videos. In December 2024, a user created a Reddit thread titled, "Rant, the state of the desert made me realize that open development is not for me." He pointed out that the newly showcased desert biome looked like a massive technical regression from builds shown 2 years prior, and how Intrepid was failing to communicate properly. He tagged the prominent content creator Narc, who had spent years producing content and had equally shared.
I feel so sorry for Narc, man, and he made banger videos on Ashes as well. Bro should come back just to like make some videos now saying I was right, because Narc was right apparently. Damn. He streamed so much Ashes. Bro destroyed his mental health, physical health, all for Ashes. Man, dude, it was good times. Just sitting back, I played some WoW, I watched Narc playing Ashes. Take me back, simpler times.
The same frustrations. Whether he was right or wrong, Steven Sharif handled the criticism like an MLM commander whose downline was breaking ranks. There is nothing nefarious. It is very easy to sit back as an uninformed content creator and cast illusions to play on people's fears or negativity. It is easy to cultivate that audience when that is your focus. I will repeat this for your own mental health. Step away. We will be here when you are ready to return. Following this, together with the predatory practices surrounding the alpha access, the delays, Narc quit creating content and promoting Ashes entirely, eventually even deleting his whole channel.
You claim that open development isn't for us, but what I think you mean is that open development isn't for you, Steven Sharif, because what you're selling is not open development. It's funding at any cost, and if anyone questions it, you ban them. So, from the bottom of my heart, I have to apologize to everyone who I convinced to help support this project these last 4 years.
After Asmongold reacted to Narc's video, it exploded in the community. Steven decided to reply to Narc and Asmongold in video form, slamming Narc as a creator just farming clicks, dismantling his claims of the state of the desert biome.
He makes a claim that, what we show is not real or is fake to some degree or some way, and that's just completely false.
Okay.
He purposefully goes out to the edge of the desert in his video without giving any context to the viewers that this whole section of the desert exists. But, over the course of the last year, he went to a very negative place, and because of that, we didn't engage with him at all as a content creator, and I think that led to, him creating this kind of negative echo chamber, which he became beholden to.
Asmongold then hosted a stream for both parties to say their piece. For over an hour, the multi-millionaire...
This was such a banger stream, by the way. Oh, this was so good. To be fair, Steven did make a lot of good points here, but yeah, this was a banger.
Systematically dismantled a small content creator, aggressively defending his predatory alpha pricing structure, and doubling down on Narc's supposedly overly negative content, curiously again, explicitly stating how much money he had invested.
So anybody that goes out there and says this is a scam, I am telling you that this game that I've sunk $55 million or more into over the course of the last 8 years,
So far.
myself personally, so far, and will have to put in another 50, probably.
Yeah.
that you should not buy the game. And we have a 90-day refund policy on these $100 alpha keys.
Yeah.
And we do not have a minimum time requirement if people want a refund.
But throughout a chaotic 2025, the cracks could no longer be ignored. The project became an industry punchline, frequently mocked as Fantasy Star Citizen or Ashes of Copium. Delays to the subsequent Alpha 2 phases mounted continuously. The studio was spiraling, the debt was secretly mounting.
You know, there's a level of financial independence that is not predicated, that has not historically been predicated on our engagement within the investing ecosphere of gaming. In order to bring to life this project.
And then, in November 2025, Intrepid Studios stunned everyone. Out of absolute nowhere, they announced that Ashes of Creation would bypass its remaining testing roadmaps and launch directly into Steam Early Access on December 11, 2025. To the casual observer, it looked like
this must have just been like a last-minute cash grab. I said this so much as well back when this happened, that this was a stupid idea. Lord, but then again, they probably made a bunch of cash, so like, how stupid was it really? But the reviews, man. And the game was so not ready to be in early access when this happened. So not ready. And the possible positives were not positive enough to outweigh the negatives.
a bold, confident leap across the finish line. In reality, it was the final, desperate act of a dying dream.
This has been a big year for us, and 2026 is going to be an even bigger year for us.
Across social media, the community that had spent nearly a decade shielding Ashes of Creation from outside criticism began to fracture. To the purists, bypassing the remaining alpha roadmaps to launch on a global commercial storefront was a betrayal of everything they had been promised. To the onlookers, it was a train wreck in motion, and time to grab some popcorn. But Intrepid had to move the needle. They slashed the entry barrier, the $500 to $100 whale packages were discarded, replaced by a standard, far more accessible $50 price tag. Of course, they were still selling cosmetics.
$50 is still so much, man, for an early access bundle, especially when the game they launched. I struggle to understand how they are allowed to call it early access, because it even said that it's still in alpha testing. So you sell early access to an alpha test, and I'm like, but the alpha test has been happening for a long time, so what exactly is the early access here? Is the early access being able to alpha test? Because in that case, couldn't WoW also sell early access, but just allow you to beta test and call that early access? To me, that defeats the purpose of the word early access. Early access is having access to the game itself or the launch itself before other people do. Which this was not. This was just testing.
Be it separately.
We completely out of money. Are we broke, Dad?
No, we're not broke.
We're not broke, chat. You heard it here first. We're still going.
On December 1st, 2025, exactly 10 days before the
oh man, dude.
scheduled Steam launch, Sarah Systems, Intrepid's cloud infrastructure provider, slapped the studio with a lawsuit for $850,000 of unpaid services. If an independent studio backed by a self-proclaimed multi-millionaire could not settle its basic server bills, the entire financial foundation could be compromised.
You know, we started in Kickstarter, although the majority of the financial backing for the studio is independent from yours truly.
Sharif immediately took to Reddit to downplay the crisis. He dismissed the litigation as a standard contract dispute, assuring backers that the money was inconsequential. To prove his financial stability, he casually dropped a statistic that left everyone stunned. Intrepid, he claimed, was now burning through $800,000 a week in operational expenses. For a mid-sized studio of roughly 250 employees, that burn rate was astronomical.
Everybody buckle up. I put a brace for impact gif in the Discord of Picard and Riker. That is what it's going to be like literally at the studio in the war room. So be prepared. It's going to be crazy.
On December 11, 2025, the gates opened. On day one, the sheer gravity of decades worth of hype pulled in 30,000 concurrent players. To the average Steam user, the game was a clunky, heavily unpolished, and fundamentally fragmented experience that looked years away from a commercial market. Yet, the core loyalists saw the potential. The foundation was there. I'm already really enjoying Ashes of Creation as it is today, not because it's perfect, but because it has identity and soul, something most modern MMORPGs have lost. Slow progression, risk, meaningful consequences, PvP tension, and a shared world that remembers.
What exactly is the Ashes of Creation identity and soul, though? I'm just wondering, because so far to me, I don't feel like it has one. Really. I mean, now it's dead, but even in early access as well, like, what was the soul? I feel like the biggest soul that I can think about is selling cosmetics in alpha, which I've heard about like almost no other game doing.
Players' actions. That's why I'm here. Given 5 more years, a stable environment, and patient backing, Ashes of Creation might have carved out a highly lucrative, dedicated niche.
I think the game can absolutely recover from mixed if they can fulfill their vision, and in terms of player retention, it's actually looking really good. I was definitely expecting much more of a drop-off.
To be fair, for testing environment, those numbers are really good, and I like to clown a little bit on what has happened to Ashes, right? But during the time, having 32,000 people as a peak player number in a testing environment where you had to pay at minimum $50 to test a game, like didn't even give you access to the game itself when it came out, you simply paid for testing. Those are fairly impressive numbers.
If Intrepid can be quick to make updates, fix bugs, listen to player feedback, and add content, I honestly think the game will be fine.
But it didn't have 5 years. It had exactly 51 days.
Yeah.
On January 22nd, 2026, after harvesting millions from Steam sales, the final avalanche began. It all started with a Reddit thread. Layoffs have hit Ashes of Creation developer Intrepid Studios. Steven Sharif immediately assumed the role of corporate fire extinguisher, treating the terminations not as a systemic failure, but as routine operational pruning. Recently, 9 people out of a team of about 250 were impacted as part of some targeted team adjustments. This was not a large-scale layoff and not a reflection of the health or the future of Ashes of Creation. In the history of corporate collapses, the phrase targeted adjustments is almost always the preface to total liquidation. Sharif assured the player base that the foundation was secure. It was an illusion that lasted exactly 9 days. On the evening of January 31, 2026, Margaret, the director of communications that so many fans knew from the project's famous streams, broke the news. Her time at Intrepid had come to an end. Following with a reply to a comment, everyone was part of a layoff. The news spread like wildfire. Rumors of it being a scam. Was this it after all these years? What about refunds? And sure enough,
yeah, so this was earlier this year, so the Reddit thread he showed from October 2024, holy foreshadowing, that is crazy. That is 1 year and 3 months prior to everything that happened. This right here was a crazy start to the year. I got my timeline kinda messed up and got a little bit confused, but yeah, whenever this happened, I was in shock, I'm just gonna say, because it kind of came out of nowhere. Just when the timeline as well. When I think I saw it on Twitter first, and then I had to just double check on LinkedIn, check out what Margaret was posting. Yeah, this was a crazy couple of days until Steven started talking about things.
Steven made his appearance with an explosive.
I will say, if anybody here, like me, played Ashes during early access or beta, alpha, Steam, whatever you want to call it, if you're one of those who were really excited about Ashes, don't take me laughing every now and then as being an anti-Ashes person. I was so bought into the whole Ashes thing. I really wanted Ashes to be good. And not even just for Ashes, but for the MMO genre itself. Because I really believe that competition breeds greatness. And if we get a game like Ashes and it ends up being super, super insane, it will drive other competitors in the MMO space to actually improve their own product. It's a win-win-win. It is a rising tide floats all boats situation.
Announcement. I can make a limited statement in my personal capacity and not on the behalf of the company regarding the situation. Control of the company shifted away from me, and the board began directing actions that I could not ethically agree with or carry out. As a result, I choose to resign in protest rather than lend my name or authority to decisions I could not ethically support. It was a total unconditional abdication. The messiah of the indie MMO space had dropped his tools and walked out the door. As a consequence, the entire senior leadership team resigned in rapid succession. The studio was completely decapitated. With Sharif out of the way, the hidden board moved with absolute predatory efficiency. They issued immediate WARN Act notices and initiated a catastrophic mass layoff. A decade of development simply evaporated overnight.
Can somebody who's more into corporate or business explain to me why this happened? Because, like, wouldn't somebody just want them, like, either side, let's just assume there's two sides here, there's probably more than two sides, but let's assume there's two sides. Doesn't both sides want the game to come out? So why would Steven sign off and just leave, and a lot of developers also leave, and then the people who are there, you have the choice of firing everyone, sending out massive warn like things and just firing people, or just scrap together a team and try your best to make something. What would drive people to be like, okay, we're just gonna scrap everything now? Hundreds of millions, or at least 150 million per the title of this video. 150 million, let's just throw that in sunk cost, abandon the game, it's over, GG's. I struggle to understand the mentality and why.
By early February, Steam took action, permanently pulling Ashes of Creation from sale. For the late-coming consumers who had purchased the $50 Steam Early Access build, the platform's refund policy offered an immediate escape hatch. But for the true believers, the financial reality was a completely different story. The thousands of core backers who had poured millions in total into Intrepid's private web store since 2017 and the Kickstarter backers found themselves trapped behind a brutal legal technicality. By forcing the unfinished Alpha 2 onto Steam as a commercial, early access product, Intrepid had achieved a critical legal milestone. A commercial launch on an open storefront fulfilled the technical definition of a delivered product. The pledge promises had been legally satisfied. Any potential refunds were now much harder to achieve through bank disputes or even chargebacks. Convenient.
This sucks. And if you are out there and you played this game because of me, I'm sorry that you bought into it.
I mean, you would be right. I mean, like, no, it was so promising. It looked so good. Everything about it looked amazing.
But I look like a massive clown, and I'm just going to have to take an L for my coverage of this game throughout its entire existence, I guess.
But as the smoke cleared over the carcass of Intrepid Studios, a far more disturbing question emerged. What did Steven Sharif mean by the board?
Oh!
From the very first day of the Kickstarter campaign, Sharif had anchored his entire moral authority on a singular claim.
I'm personally funding the project to completion.
He had explicitly stated that Intrepid had no publishers, no external investors, no shareholders. To the public's absolute knowledge, the governing board of Intrepid Studios consisted of exactly 2 people: Stephen Sharif, the Chief Executive Officer, CEO, and John Moore, the Chief Financial Officer, his husband.
I am telling you that this game that I've sunk $55 million or more dollars into over the course of the last 8 years,
So far.
myself personally, so far.
But as the first lawsuits were filed, the unsealed documents tore away the final layers of corporate deception. There was indeed a larger board, and it was populated by ghosts. Before we can dissect the legal warfare that tore Intrepid Studios apart in early 2026, we must identify the hidden actors lurking in the ledger. But the critical boundary must be established before going any further. These claims are active legal allegations, not established facts. With multiple lawsuits currently winding through the system, a definitive legal resolution remains years away. Until the final gavel strikes, the objective truth is split between 2 competing, highly volatile narratives. We must try to evaluate both sides of the mirror with absolute detachment, mapping the evidence exactly as it stands today. So, enter Jason Karaminis.
I built my business with the philosophy that there is nobody in this room that I am better than, but there is nobody that is better than me.
Starting in 2017, even before the Kickstarter campaign ever went live, Karaminis quietly began injecting millions into Intrepid Studios through a complex convertible debt agreement via the Yaya Legacy Trust. Contractually, Karaminis wasn't initially classified as an investor, he was a creditor. Intrepid was borrowing his capital with a dangerous caveat: pay the loans back with interest or forfeit studio equity. Through text message.
Oh, so if you pay it back with interest, you would keep equity. But if you can't pay it back, you don't keep equity? Bro, I'm too stupid for this, man. I make content and I sit here and stream and I play WoW. That's me.
Messages that Jason shared with a YouTuber, Nephis QS, revealed an extraordinary psychological underlayer. Sharif systematically love-bombed Karaminis, pitching.
What is this? I am open to what you feel is best for you and me either way. It's a great deal for me at this point, believing in your dreams. Bro, he sold people dreams, man. He sold the investors dreams, he sold us gamers dreams also. It is my opinion, if you were to execute the option yourself and wait to sell that portion of your equity stake in 2020 or even late 2019, you could get anywhere from 3x to 7x that amount. I'll be writing up my opinion for you in an email here shortly. However, I would prefer you to not sell to Tencent, but it is obviously a decision for you. We will be launching Ashes of Creation with around 2 million players. We have over 500k now, that is around 40 million a month in subscriptions, and that is just Ashes of Creation. The other titles will be huge also. This is a new Dynasty company, which is why Tencent and the Mail.ru are coming at us hard right now. Also, our personnel is attractive to them. Creative director from Sony, art director from Disney, and engineers from Amazon.
Him an absurdly lucrative business. He compared the monetization of Ashes of Creation directly to Fortnite, mapping out the astronomical revenue and modern MMORPG.
Our average player spent $53, and Fortnite's average player spent 58. But isn't the core difference here that your average player has to spend a bunch of money to, or like, not even to play the game, to test the game? But in Fortnite, the game itself is free. So I feel like those numbers for Fortnite are way more impressive, because the game itself is free, and all the payments are optional. Meanwhile, to play Ashes, you simply had to pay a bunch. Like the alpha keys were selling for $250. But also, this is crazy.
Ashes of Creation directly to Fortnite, mapping out the astronomical revenue a modern MMORPG could extract. How they had the opportunity to claim the entire market as everything failed around it. And it perfectly contextualized his public bravado during the 2017 Kickstarter launch, where he casually boasted to media outlets that he had very good friends from previous business endeavors who were dying to invest.
Yo, Jeanette!
Because you see, Karamenes was a veteran of the predatory supplement underworld, a close business associate of Steven Sharif's own mother, the MLM Queen. Karamenes boasted the title of Imperial Diamond Director for Jeunesse Global, a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut specializing in cellular rejuvenation and anti-aging skincare products.
You know, we've celebrated 14 years of becoming one of the fastest companies to build to $1 billion in the entire history of network marketing.
Karamenes had also been involved with Vima, the exact MLM that resulted in Alkazine's lifetime federal ban. By 2019, after a series of frantic, repeated emergency cash requests, Karamenes' mounting loans officially converted into equity for a total of $12.5 million. The creditor, Jason, had officially become a shareholder. The private correspondence reveals that behind the scenes, Intrepid was caught in a state of chronic financial starvation. As early as 2019, the studio was actively scrounging for basic payroll capital. That same year, Sharif believed he had engineered the ultimate solution. Yet another investor. This time, it came from China. Documents
Is that Tencent?
originally shared by the YouTuber Nefes and Jason revealed that in 2019, Sharif attempted to secure a massive $60 million investment with iDream Sky, a prominent Chinese mobile gaming publisher. But the deal collapsed at the finish line, plunging Intrepid into a catastrophic liquidity crisis. Sharif repeatedly returned to Karamenes, begging for additional capital, continuing with the sales pitches. This company will be the largest MMO in history, bigger than WoW's 13 billion.
Okay, yeah, Sure, nice. That was a good dream.
How he had spent his mom's help, promising astronomical returns once the alpha testing phases drove public hype. 2021, the company is going to buy you your own jet and name it the Karamenes Gulfstream. These grand...
Wait, he actually said that in... These are real? Oh, dude, what is this? What is this, bro?
Promises, while completely delusional, do feel reminiscent of something else. Something Steven was very familiar with. MLM recruitment tactics, but the standalone Battle Royale spin-off, Apocalypse, flopped spectacularly. Steven needed yet more funding, but Karamenes' patience was wearing thin. He wasn't seeing any returns, culminating in furious texts.
Do you understand me now, bro? Go cry to your husband, bro. Not me. I am in no mood to be happy now. I said I'm getting a fucking loan, and as soon as I have money, I will help. But you can't seem to do anything here. It baffles my mind why you're a business owner. I am so fucked I can't see straight, and I asked you to politely go find another source for a week or two.
By 2020, the operation required a far bigger shark, and Karamenes served as the ultimate gateway.
Oh.
Karamenes introduced Sharif to his premier multi-level marketing contact, Robert Dawson, the chief legal officer of Jeunesse Global and the ultimate architect of Intrepid's demise. Dawson, operating through an entity called TFE Games Holdings, poured in a total a staggering $80 million into Intrepid over a 4-year window as volatile convertible debt-based loans. They had become the primary source of funds and a majority shareholder. These shadow investors stabilized the game's finances for nearly 4 years. So why the sudden collapse post the Steam launch? Well, on February 9, 2026, Robert Dawson and TFE Game Holdings launched their devastating legal strike against Stephen Sharif and John Moore. The lawsuit alleged systematic financial misconduct, breach of fiduciary duty, and the outright embezzlement of studio funds, accusing the couple of siphoning millions to underwrite their personal lifestyles and pay off private debts. Specific allegations included over $200,000 spent on DoorDash, more than $700,000 on Amazon purchases, and even the use of studio funds to aid their purchase of their personal home. According to the claims, Sharif and Moore, while serving as CFO, directed over $4 million in personal payments to themselves and family members, including Tom Alkazine. These transfers allegedly stopped once Moore was replaced as CFO. More on that later, as well as evident by those previous text messages to Jason Karamani's alleged misrepresentation of Ashes of Creation's earning potential over multiple years, delayed alpha phases, and revenue that generated only a fraction of Sharif's own projections. In total, approximately $21 million in outflows allegedly lacked any legitimate business purpose. And the most shocking of all was their allegation that Sharif publicly and falsely represented that funding came directly from him, while he was sourcing it mainly from third-party investors, which at this point, the debt was in excess of $130 million.
He might be a good creative director, he might be a good gamer, but everything else is full of shit. So when you don't have to spend any of your own money, like zero, and you're just on everyone else's fucking tit, sucking everyone's tit, okay, like he was, spending everyone's money.
Went to Kickstarter, not really.
Bro, oh my days. Yeah, this suit and everything turned so hostile, so fast. It's crazy. This entire situation is crazy.
As a means for funding, I'm personally funding the entire project.
By this point, Dawson and TFE effectively owns every asset inside the building, including the IP of Ashes of Creation. Intrepid defaulted on its debts and was subsequently foreclosed. Basically, the board's and Jason's narrative was simple. Stephen Sharif was a classic, overhyped internet scammer who had no idea how to operate a multi-million-dollar company, and now they were seeking justice over the millions they poured into it. For a large part of the community, this confirms their absolute worst fears. The master marketeer had finally run out of runway, but things were about to get a whole lot more messy. On February 18 and through the following months, Sharif launched his counter-narrative. Sharif claimed he wasn't the predator, he was the victim. His filings exposed Dawson's entire investment strategy as a textbook predatory loan-to-own takeover scheme. According to Sharif, Dawson and his inner circle had been systematically plotting the hostile takeover of Intrepid Studios since 2022.
I'm just wondering, like, if you take over the company and you fire all the developers and you even fire the public face of the company, or you make him resign, even if you make the game, like, even if Ashes of Creation right now makes it to a launchable state, I just think it's over for Ashes. They can try to scrap together something, to launch something, to milk a little bit and squeeze some money out of it, but it's just never gonna be what people thought it was gonna be now. It's pretty much basically permanently dead.
The countersuit alleged that Dawson consistently backdated paperwork and manipulated debt agreements to make his loans look older and cheaper than they actually were. A deliberate strategy engineered to let him grab a massive percentage of the company at a fraction of the value. But tucked deeper inside Sharif's evidence log was a revelation that completely reshaped the history of the project. Through this email in 2022, a major video game developer, Riot Games, who was actively building their own MMORPG at the time, approached Intrepid with a massive offer for Ashes of Creation. The deal represented a staggering $250 to $500 million institutional backing. It seemed like a match made in heaven. Sure, it would have enraged the community built on promises of total independence, But the partnership of that scale would have guaranteed the technical resources required to actually finish the game. But Robert Dawson allegedly blocked the play, strongly advising Sharif to reject the acquisition. A year later, in 2023, a paranoid Sharif explicitly confronted Dawson about a potential boardroom coup. "Me? Take control? You are on too many drugs, man. Do you really think I want to control it? No. In most, I want to vote my economy. Interests, like any investor. And unless you think I'm an idiot, you would know I'm voting with you. This is going to end ugly. But if you think better to have Riot vote and control than me, then by all means, go for it." But as the studio's burn rate accelerated through 2023 and 2024, the mask of the passive investor completely came off. Sharif alleged that Jason Karaminis had effectively been installed as Dawson's enforcer, a highly volatile individual deployed to threaten and coerce the studio into submission. Behind the scenes of your dream indie MMORPG, the executive dynamic had evolved into an absolute nightmare. Dawson would routinely threaten to withhold immediate payroll funding unless Sharif signed amended articles or agreements that slowly stripped away his authority. And where Dawson used paperwork, Karaminis used terrifying raw thuggery that actually escalated to physical threats.
What is this? I am beyond boiling with you and don't value that this 2 lines of edit. That's what you wanted is now done and I'm waiting for this to be completed. Look, Steven, you're effing eternity on to send me a message. You act like she's the boss. Get the shift effing done tomorrow. Your life is over on Tuesday. When business opens, I am not effing around with you ass anymore. Oh, these messages are crazy.
Get this shit done tomorrow or your life is over on Tuesday when business opens.
Oh.
You are lucky I have Rob's back, otherwise I would fuck your whole world up. Hope I'm clear, you are a piece of shit. These were controversial multi-level marketing executives role-playing as full-on street-level gangsters.
Yeah, street-level gangsters, mafia stuff, man, holy. We're both about to have a fist fight.
But amidst all of Sharif's defenses, there is a glaring uncomfortable truth that his narrative conveniently glosses over. Intrepid Studios was completely starved for resources. They were entirely dependent on Dawson, Karaminis, and other investors just to cover basic payroll, and the millions being funneled into the studio's accounts were vanishing into a financial black hole.
Rob wrote you checks. I wrote you checks, okay? The TFD Games Company wrote you checks, okay? Tom wrote you checks. Aaron wrote you checks. Everyone wrote him checks. Has he given anybody any return on investment? Has he done anything? What's he gonna say?
What we do know is that the sharks had him by the throat.
What does that mean? What are they complaining about writing a name wrong, or what's up there?
It was either Sharif or his employees. So according to Steven, his best play was to play along to keep his employees safe. It got so bad that Steven was allegedly forced to approve a warrant providing Dawson 10% of the company for literally $10. It was then in May 2024 that Dawson—
Bro, what? If you're valuing the company at $100, I'll buy it, bro. What are you doing? 10% for $10. I'll even up that offer, man. I'll do $11. Come on, give me 10%.
converted all outstanding debt into equity, officially making himself the majority shareholder and seizing absolute control of the company. In time, he structured a 5-man board composed—
And that is why you never sell more than 49% of your company. Keep 51% for yourself, that way you're always in control, right?
mostly of veteran executives with zero connections to game development. He removed Sharif's husband, John Moore, as CFO, replacing him with Ryan Ogden, the CFO of Jeunesse Global. Ogden was immediately instructed to open a new corporate account at Pathway Bank, a financial institution that Dawson conveniently owned. Dawson's alleged directive to Steven reveals the absolute nature of this new board. I want you guys in the lead and me hidden in the background as ownership. never would be in the forefront. And one of the most shocking allegations is that Steven claimed this wasn't Dawson's first rodeo. Just months prior, a co-founder of Gen S Global had filed a massive lawsuit accusing Dawson of utilizing loans from his personal bank to systematically extract millions from the company founder, a sinister business model if proven true. But there was still a question lingering in the air regarding Steven Sharif. Did he actually invest his own fortune into the game?
I still feel like the lawsuit that is being done, or I guess there's multiple now, have they gone anywhere, any of them? Because I kind of feel like they're all just in limbo. I guess it is such a big suit that it takes a bunch of time and they have to do a bunch of research, but for now I haven't, based on the videos I've been following and everything as well, doesn't seem to have any very insane advancement. Unless I've missed out on something that is kind of crazy.
In his official statement, he did claim that was accurate. Much of the capital provided to the company came through lenders who extended financing based on my personal guarantees and collateralization of my own assets and equity. I put my own financial future on the line to build this project and keep it alive for as long as possible. While judges and lawyers can truly define that, to the public, relying on loans, financing does not equal true self-funding, and was that exact tactic of lending that brought on the project's major issues. Regarding the board is another story. Sharif rigidly maintained that he never misled his audience about who was running the ship. Stating from 2015 up until the 2024 boardroom takeover, the company's absolute ownership was strictly isolated to 3 sole shareholders: himself, his husband, John Moore, and an individual identified simply as Tom, as in Tom Al-Kazin. However, Steven had never once mentioned the existence of a 3rd shareholder, as far as my findings go. Which brings us to the ultimate question. What was the Shadowboard's true objective for Ashes of Creation? According to information available, the board allegedly engineered 2 parallel tracks. Step 1 was a formal foreclosure to legally transfer every single asset of Intrepid directly into Dawson's personal holding company, TFE Games Holdings, effectively attempting to isolate or avoid the debts of Intrepid, basically providing a clean slate for future development. Step 2 was to violently downsize the studio, laying off 70% of the core staff to run a skeleton crew operation. To fund this pivot, they allegedly forced the sudden, erratic December 2025 Steam Early Access launch, an operational move that made absolutely zero development sense, but perfect financial sense. The board plans to allegedly hijack the massive influx of Steam revenue, allegedly with original plans to have a $100 box price and a $20 subscription. Insane, but still cheaper than many previous packages.
Yeah.
And routing the revenue directly into Dawson's new Pathway Bank account, rather than allegedly utilizing it to pay down the studio's oldest loans, in particular to a bank, Commerce West. While they alleged that Steven only wanted to pay back the loan to Commerce West because the loan was backed by his own home.
He had Commerce Bank send a letter stating that that money was Commerce's bank's. So Commerce Bank would get that money because they had a secured position against his house on the money that he originally borrowed for the company. Well, that was the money for our payroll.
On January 16, the board officially executed the foreclosure after purposely, according to Steven, accruing vendor debts such as a service provider. It's official, the foreclosure is complete. TFE Holding owns all of the assets, said a Dawson text. Their new blueprint was absolute lunacy. They intended to finish the development of the entire MMORPG by September 2026, on a budget of $12 million. To achieve this, they planned the mass layoffs, withholding severance packages from the departing team. An internal email from newly appointed board member, Aaron Bartels, exposes the absolute cold approach of the boardroom. These are bottom performers, who have already been paid more than they deserve. Who listens to a poor performer who gets whacked? Any suit against us will be against the old entity that will have no value in a week. Let's not pay either. Still, looking strictly at the facts, it is hard to deny that the studio desperately needed a radical intervention just to keep the lights on. Steven Sharif himself explicitly confirmed a grueling $150 million of capital had already been entirely consumed by—
How much, you say? I understand that my level of resistance and pushback is not making me any friends. To be honest, I am more concerned about the 150+ million put into 10 years, going up in flames. Not because of us not finding the money to make it to September, but because of the chefs in the kitchen are literally throwing cooking oil on the walls and floor. That's crazy.
By the project, yet the game was still in a raw early alpha stage. At this point, you have to look past the boardroom warfare and confront the systemic reality. Perhaps the original development model was just terribly managed. Or more realistically, the grand illusion of Ashes of Creation was simply fundamentally doomed from the start. In a final desperate counter-move, Steven Sharif notified their primary creditors at Commerce West Bank of the hidden foreclosure and the board's secret plan to divert
the shady, like the involvement of shady people or MLM in the background, kinda doomed it from the start, and also hiding it. Claiming self-funding and crowdfunding and community funding and not having a board to listen to. And then in the back there was always a board to listen to, and just giving away more and more shares of the company over time. Just super shady, man.
the Steam revenue away from their loan agreements. Then, on January 19, he typed out his official—
It even feels more shady when you have a board of people who only want to make money and are from MLM or pyramid schemes based on making money, and based on what I've seen, almost none of them are involved in making games. So now it's just a bunch of people are involved that only care about money, don't even know how to make a good game, nor do they care to. Like, yeah, no purpose of making good game, just making money. Even though I think I fully believe Sharif had good intentions from the start, just really poorly done over the years. But then again, I have no knowledge of anything. I'm just, I'm assessing the situation based on what's happened so far.
Resignation. He refused to be the public face of a mass layoff he had no part in designing. But here's where the entire board narrative completely fractures. Despite later painting Steven Sharif as an incompetent manager who was actively embezzling millions of dollars,
After my resignation, the board requested a return as a chief executive officer, offering me an additional equity if I would go along with the foreclosure. So is this like by Sharif? For example, Miss Fett. This means Miss Pussy in Norwegian. In my dialect at least, that's kind of insane, threatened that employee health benefits would be cut off or that the company would be shut down without paying employees unless I agreed to return to work as a CEO, Chief Executive Officer, and assisted in diverting the Steam funds to Mr. Dawson's entity. A true and correct copy of relevant correspondence is attached here to as Exhibit 39. He's made a lot of like, what's he called? You know.
The moment his resignation hit the boardroom table, the board coerced him to return to the studio if he simply cooperated with a foreclosure and threatened to shut down the company if he didn't comply. Which begs the question, why would the board offer to reinstate a man they genuinely believed was actively robbing their company?
That was Sharif, right? Because in that case, he's the public face. If you've just been following Ashes, you probably have no idea who 4 out of these 5 people are. The only face you very likely recognize is Steven. He is the face of the company. He's the one you're listening to. He's the one holding the speeches. The other people here don't even look like they're interested in games to me. I see these pictures and I'm instantly like, money, 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 money.
Ultimately, no deal could be struck. And the people who took the absolute brunt of this executive power struggle were the developers and the players. The planned 70% downsize instantly devolved into a total operational shutdown. Intrepid Studios closed its doors. And that Steam revenue, which rounded to about $5 to $8 million, Valve noticed the conflicting bank accounts, saw the wave of terrified players.
Recent reviews, very negative. English reviews, mostly negative. Sad times.
Refund requests, and immediately terminated the partnership, permanently freezing the capital while the studio bled out in the dark. So, what is the final verdict? Was Steven Sharif an innocent, naive creator, coerced by multi-level marketing?
I think he had like I don't know anything, but I feel like he had the good intentions. He had the good intentions. He's a good salesman. He's a good spokesperson. He might just have taken cash from the wrong people and went down the wrong rabbit hole. That's mainly how I feel. But maybe somebody else is gonna feel entirely differently, and you're just like, he came from an MLM company. He has MLM backgrounds. He was here for the money. He came for the money. He took the money, and he was happy. I don't know. I feel like he had the good intentions, though. I mean, he played a bunch of video games. If he was only here for the money, he wouldn't play video games to begin with, and he would probably try to be more in the background. Because then he would just get somebody else to be the face, and he could just take the money and run. I don't know.
Sharks, or a master recruiter who...
The way he spoke about the games as well, it just felt like he understood what the gamers wanted, and he wanted to give them that. Or that was just the speech he gave to generate sales, who knows, right? But it felt like he understood gaming culture.
Ran out of cards to play. Well, on May 1st, 2026, the judge officially dismissed the Robert Dawson's Board lawsuit against Steven Sharif without prejudice, meaning the door is closed right now, but could be open later. Sharif immediately took a public victory lap on Discord, claiming absolute vindication. He vowed to maintain his countersuit against TFE Holdings, defeat the cartel in court, regain absolute ownership of the IP, and one day rebuild Ashes of Creation from the ashes of liquidation. But for everyone else, the devastation remains absolute. The developers are still out of a job, left to sue a defunct corporate husk for their unpaid wages. The studio dead, and the game effectively with it. And the thousands of longtime backers who poured millions into the dream since 2017 are left with absolutely nothing. And to end it, if you think this ongoing drama and lawsuits couldn't get any more crazy, it was claimed as I was editing this video that on the day of the mass terminations, leadership staff were physically shown on surveillance cameras removing server hardware from the studio's data center and hiding it in a storage shed. Yes, that is one of the claims with photo evidence. Ultimately, there is no clean conclusion to be found inside the wreckage. What remains is multiple question marks on a highly volatile, completely fragmented disaster. An absolute mess of conflicting depositions and mutual betrayal that will drag through the legal system and the public for years to come. But what we can deduce from both sides is a grim reality. The proud claim that Steven Sharif was prepared to personally bankroll the entire project was always far more complicated than the studio let on. Sharif routinely relied on massive, high-interest loans just to stay afloat, utilizing his deep multi-level marketing connections.
The saddest thing to me is that now, two of the biggest new IPs in the MMORPG genre have died. One happened due to like the company just shutting it down, and the other one due to the company imploding, or whatever you want to call it. So we have a New World that was like a new IP and a brand new game, brand new lore, something starting from scratch. And honestly, I thought New World did great and did quite well. They even came out with a brand new update. It started going up as well in popularity, and then they announced the shutdown and everyone left. Super stupid timing. They should at least not have announced the shutdown for a little bit more time. Just allow people to enjoy the update, because when you tell people the end is nearing, they're not going to wait for the end and just be like, hey, we're just going to enjoy the game now for as long a time as we have. No, they will leave instantly and find a new place they can call home. So yeah, they should have just like waited with that announcement of the end, or not shut it down to begin with. And now we have Ashes of Creation as well. I doubt they can bring this back into a game they can launch. It's just gonna be a meme now, forever. And if they do launch it, I don't know, man. R.I.P. Ashes, bro. I had so high hopes and such dreams for this game. And I honestly thought it could shake up the MMORPG genre. It's just been dominated by the same games over and over and over again, and I was hoping for somebody else to just suddenly leap in there and be like, hey, there's room for one more. And just shake it up and improve the quality of everything. Be the rising tide that floats all boats. Man, dude. R.I.P. It had potential.
To keep the lights on. It was this exact reliance on that directly invited the very same people that he claimed caused this whole mess.
Yeah.
And even if Steven Sharif is completely cleared of all legal wrongdoing when the final gavel strikes, the deception remains. While Sharif may legally argue that accumulating massive private debt can still constitute absolute self-funding, in the court of public opinion, that statement has been shattered. Steven Sharif allegedly searched for capital across the globe,
Yeah, it's exactly that. It's even if he wins every single lawsuit that is happening right now, the public perception and the public belief in him and the company and the game, it's just been shattered. People understood now they've been lied to all along. I don't see them coming back from this. Them, him, it, the game. I don't know.
Equity through loans in the dark, selling massive dreams of Fortnite-scale revenue to MLM execs, all the while aggressively weaponizing a relentless FOMO factory to extract millions in raw capital from a desperate and exhausted player base, and all for an incomplete game. And remember that referral program that heavily skewed towards content creators?
At least this could have been a very good social experiment. Like, how much money can we extract from gamers by selling them the vision of a game, but never actually giving them the game? Just how starved for content are they? What are they willing to pay for? And how much money can we squeeze in a testing environment?
Well, they got nothing, and people were only left with a bunch of intrepid bugs, embers, on a defunct website. Whether the investors from Karamanis to Dawson were driven by malice, or just trying to protect their investments and hopefully turn a bleeding company around through drastic measures, we are left to pick which side of this toxic boardroom war is marginally less corrosive than the next. Yet, there is a deeply tragic paradox at the absolute heart of this destruction. It is entirely plausible that, at the same time, Steven Sharif and especially his core developers truly loved the genre, that they were genuinely trying to build the ultimate monument to the golden age of MMORPGs. But in the end, it wasn't just a boardroom coup that executed Ashes of Creation, it was the crushing weight of the sunk cost fallacy, a grueling 10-year timeline.
Bro, we just need somebody to buy the rights to Arcade, like one of the early patches of Arcade, and give us Arcade Classic for EU and NA. I don't think that would be super popular, but the people who like Arcade, they would love that, man. It would have a super steady player base of like a few 10,000s, maybe even 100k, I don't know, but please, give me Arcade Classic. Because even for Ashes of Creation as well, when I look at it, I feel like it's a knock-off TMU Ashes, TMU Arcade. Give me Arcade, bro. Arcade Classic. One of the early builds.
Over $150 million with zero returns. If projects with tens of thousands of active players like New World fail, what hope was there for an independent studio
I honestly feel like New World failed though, because they just shut it down, Amazon Games. I bet they shut it down due to operational cost and the profits not being there. But the game itself was alright, and the recent update they made as well was on an uptick. Like, the population went from being stagnant for a long time to suddenly increasing with that update. And more and more people were coming in to check out the new update as well.
Trying to engineer the most complex MMORPG in existence. And as the vultures continue to tear apart the corpse of the project in the courts, the MMORPG community is left exactly where it started.
Yeah.
Beaten, fleeced, and waiting in the dark for a savior that may never come.
Oh boy, dude. $150+ million, 10 years of development, and more. How the most hyped MMO collapsed, the absolute downfall of Ashes of Creation. This has been a solid over 2 hours. It's been a 2-hour and 4.5 minutes video so far of me reacting to this. Honestly, this was a really good video. Time flew by. I'm just gonna say it right now, dude. Time absolutely flew. Hopefully you guys enjoyed whatever I had to add to the conversation as well. I am still so sad that Ashes of Creation, that all of this happened. I was really just hoping to have a good game to play. And another MMORPG to check out that could be more my style of game than, for example, Guild Wars, Final Fantasy. I do play both of those, by the way. I haven't played Final Fantasy now for 2 expansions, so I've been away from that game for quite a while. I started playing Guild Wars 2 late last year, and I'm playing WoW. I've played Arcade as well, but we haven't had a playable version of Arcade now in NA or EU for the last 2 years, I believe, so I have to play on the Korean version or private servers, so it is what it is, right? But I was really hoping, man, for Ashes of Creation to be another good MMORPG that I could play, and possibly the other MMORPGs could get inspired by and improve their own games. And also, just the dream sounded so cool to me. One of these big companies making games, and then you have the gamer who plays video games, wants to make a game, makes a game, and that game just absolutely bangs, and it's a good game. And yeah, that dream will forever be a dream, I guess. The link to the main video, by the way, will be down below as well in the video description, so you can go and check it out. Like, he put a lot of work into that one, probably multiple days, weeks in production. That's it. It's over an hour video. You almost never see those right now, unless it's a random facts to fall asleep to, or a compilation of many videos. So yeah, either way, probably my longest reaction video ever, so let me know what you feel about that in the comments down below as well. Hopefully somebody watched the entire thing, and yeah, hopefully somebody's still here watching at the 2 hours, 6.5 minute mark. I'm gonna go make some food. I'm hungry. So thank you for watching, leave your thoughts in the comments down below, leave a like if you haven't yet, and check out once again the main video linked down below. Thank you for watching here today, I really do appreciate it. See you next time. Bye.